Have you ever wondered if a plant could live all by itself, sealed away from the outside world inside a glass jar? It seems like a strange idea, almost like a tiny, green astronaut in its own little spaceship. Can a plant really survive without fresh air from outside? This question is a fascinating one because it helps us understand the amazing and complex life of plants. To figure out the answer, we first need to look at the basic things that every plant needs to stay alive and healthy. Just like us, plants have a checklist of essentials for survival, and without them, they simply wouldn't be able to grow or thrive, whether they are in a big forest or a small jar. Let's break down what a plant requires to live. First, plants need light. Light is like their power source, giving them the energy they need to function. This is why you often see plants reaching and bending toward a sunny window. Second, they need water. Water is crucial for many of a plant's internal processes, helping to transport nutrients from the soil up through its stems and leaves. Without water, a plant will wilt and eventually dry out. Finally, plants need air, specifically a gas called carbon dioxide. This might seem surprising, but carbon dioxide is a key ingredient for a plant to make its own food, which is a process we will explore more deeply. So we have our list of essentials: light, water, and air. In an open pot on your windowsill, a plant gets all of these things easily. The sun provides light, you provide water, and the air all around it provides the carbon dioxide it needs. But what happens when we put a lid on the jar? Sealing the jar traps everything inside. The water is trapped, the soil is trapped, and the air is trapped. No new air can get in, and no old air can get out. This creates a completely closed system, a miniature world sealed off from everything else. This is where our main question becomes really interesting. If a plant uses up the carbon dioxide in the sealed jar, what happens when it runs out? Will the plant stop being able to make food and eventually wither away? Or is there something more going on inside that little glass world? The answer lies in the incredible way that plants not only take things from their environment, but also give things back. They are not just consumers, they are also producers. This two-way exchange is the secret to understanding how life can be sustained inside a sealed container, turning a simple jar into a self-contained ecosystem. The process that allows a plant to make its own food is called photosynthesis. This word might sound complicated, but the idea behind it is quite simple and truly amazing. Think of it as a plant's personal kitchen. Using the energy it gets from sunlight, the plant takes carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil. It then uses these simple ingredients to cook up its own sugary food, which gives it the energy to grow taller, produce new leaves, and carry out all its life functions. Photosynthesis is the foundation of life for almost all plants on Earth. Let's look a little closer at this incredible natural factory. The magic happens inside the plant's leaves, in tiny parts called chloroplasts, which are what make the leaves green. When sunlight hits a leaf, the chloroplasts capture that light energy. This energy powers a chemical reaction that transforms the carbon dioxide and water into glucose, which is a type of sugar. This sugar is the plant's food. But photosynthesis doesn't just create food, it also produces a very important byproduct. This byproduct is something that almost all living creatures on Earth, including us, need to breathe. That important byproduct is oxygen. While the plant is busy taking in carbon dioxide to make its food, it releases oxygen back into the air. This is a fantastic exchange. Plants essentially clean the air for us, taking in the carbon dioxide we exhale and giving us back the oxygen we need to inhale. This cycle is happening all the time, all over the world, in every forest, park, and garden. It is a perfect example of how living things are connected and depend on each other. The waste product of one organism becomes the essential ingredient for another. So, how does this relate to our plant in a sealed jar? The process of photosynthesis is the absolute key to its survival. Inside that closed environment, the plant will use sunlight to convert the carbon dioxide and water into the sugary food it needs to live. As it does this, it will release oxygen into the limited airspace within the jar. This release of oxygen is just as important as the intake of carbon dioxide, as it changes the composition of the air inside the jar, setting the stage for the next crucial process that keeps the plant alive. Just like animals, plants also breathe in a way. This process is called respiration. During respiration, the plant takes in the oxygen that it produced during photosynthesis and uses it to break down the sugary food it created. Breaking down this food releases the stored energy, which the plant then uses to fuel its growth and repair itself, especially at night when there is no sunlight for photosynthesis. So, a plant both produces and consumes oxygen. It's a delicate balance. During the day, it produces much more oxygen through photosynthesis than it uses for respiration. Now let's place this concept back inside our sealed jar. When the jar is first sealed, it contains a certain amount of air, which includes both carbon dioxide and oxygen. During the day, when sunlight is available, the plant will busily perform photosynthesis. It will absorb carbon dioxide from the air inside the jar and release oxygen. This causes the amount of carbon dioxide in the jar to decrease while the amount of oxygen increases. The plant is actively changing the air inside its own little world, creating an oxygen-rich environment for itself. When night comes and the light disappears, photosynthesis stops. Now the plant switches primarily to respiration. It starts to take in the oxygen that has built up inside the jar and uses it to burn its stored sugars for energy. As it does this, it releases carbon dioxide back into the air. So overnight, the levels of oxygen in the jar will go down and the levels of carbon dioxide will go up. The plant is essentially resetting the air, preparing it with the carbon dioxide it will need for photosynthesis when the sun rises again the next morning. This beautiful repeating cycle of photosynthesis and respiration creates a balanced atmosphere inside the sealed jar. The plant produces its own oxygen to breathe at night, and then uses that breath to produce the carbon dioxide it needs to make food during the day. It is a perfect, self-regulating system. The same atoms of oxygen and carbon are used over and over again, just in different forms. As long as there is enough light for photosynthesis and enough water in the soil, the plant can theoretically continue this cycle indefinitely, creating its own breathable atmosphere day after day. This idea isn't just a theory, it has been proven in real life with sealed terrariums. A famous example is a terrarium created by a man named David Latimer. In 1960, he planted a small spiderwort plant inside a large glass bottle, added some water, and sealed it shut. He only opened it once in 1972 to add a little more water. For over 50 years, that sealed bottle has sat in a sunny spot, and the plant inside has continued to grow and thrive, creating its own miniature rainforest ecosystem. It is a living testament to the power of this closed natural cycle. The plant in a sealed jar can indeed live for a very long time, potentially for decades, as long as the conditions are right. The key is balance. The jar needs enough soil and decaying organic matter to provide nutrients. It needs just the right amount of water to create a water cycle, where water evaporates from the soil and leaves, condenses on the glass, and rains back down. Most importantly, it needs a consistent source of indirect light to power the whole system. Too much direct sun can overheat the jar and cook the plant, while too little light will stop photosynthesis. What could eventually limit the plant's life? Over time, the plant might simply grow too large for its container, running out of physical space. Another possibility is that the nutrients in the soil could eventually be depleted, although the process of decay helps recycle them. If old leaves fall and decompose, their nutrients are returned to the soil for the plant to use again. However, this recycling process may not be perfectly efficient. A disease could also potentially take hold, and in a closed system, the plant would have no way to escape it. So the answer is a resounding yes. A plant can breathe and live in a sealed jar. It creates its own balanced ecosystem, recycling air, water, and nutrients in a continuous loop powered by light. This amazing fact shows us how incredibly self-sufficient plants are. As a fun takeaway, a sealed terrarium is often called a message in a bottle from nature, reminding us that even in a closed-off space, the powerful cycles of life can sustain themselves in perfect, beautiful harmony for an astonishingly long time.